You're now tuning in to the Views and Voices podcast. I'm your host, Dewan Thompson. We have a special guest, my brother K Bell, man. But go ahead and introduce yourself and basically tell me what you got going on with your path right now, your life path.
Already, man. Already. Now, I appreciate the introduction, man. Like D said, me and him go way back, man. They call me K Bell, but my name is Kevin Bell. I am a 3-year veteran of the department here in San Antonio, man. I do a lot of community outreach, specifically patrol the east side. Um, Throughout the days and nuances of the job and whatnot, I try to get involved in the school systems as well. It's very important. I think that especially, excuse me, in our profession and within our culture, the Black culture. I think it's important that we have that liaison between community and policing, something that really isn't taught in the school systems. And it's something that I try to do outside of the job, and I think that's very important, especially for young kids coming up.
Most definitely. And so, would you say that drives you to be an officer today?
Man, to be honest with you, bro, like coming up, like I never was that kid coming up like, hey, man, I want to be an officer. I want to be a police officer.
Yeah.
I see him on the street and wave at him. I always saw somebody in a law enforcement capacity or in a uniform as a negative stereotype towards myself. I always,
Mm-hmm.
always thought that, man. I never saw him in the light. And it took me, and I tell this story all the time when I was a little boy. I never really got allowance like that. So,
Yeah.
my parents was like, hey, go out and cut yards. And the first yard the first guy that I knocked on his door, I was just like, "Hey man, do you mind if I cut your yard? I'm just a young kid just trying to make some money. Had my lawnmower, had my edger, had my gas sitting on top of my lawnmower. Just kind of old
Had
school way, man.
everything.
Yeah. So I knocked on his door. He opened it. He said, "Hey man, what's going on, little bro?" And he had his Dallas County Sheriff's Officer uniform.
Mm.
And I was just like, wow, man, that's cool. He talked like me, he looked like me. Every single time I cut his yard, he would, treat me like his own family, never skipped a beat. And he was just him in and out of the uniform.
Yeah.
And, for me, I thought that was so important because I really never saw that, and so I think just seeing that and just coming, going into middle school, going into high school, uh, I never had that idea until I got, further on in college, and it was just like it clicked.
Okay. See, that's what's up, man. And so,
Mhm.
so being a police officer right now in today's world is so controversial, right?
Yeah,
So, what made you, besides that story right there? Because I know you were doing criminal justice in college.
yeah,
What made you become a police officer? Like, what drove you down that route within
true.
the criminal justice system?
Yeah. So, man, it's kind of a an add-on answer to the previous question that you asked. I don't
Okay.
know if you remember, DJ. We were about to go through fall camp, right? 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was about to start a week before 2 days, and we were all sitting inside of the that media room. I guess we were watching film or whatever, and we had a guy and it just a guest speaker come in,
Mm.
and he
Yeah.
was a ex-convict, I think of like 15 years.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he came in, and when he came in, man, he gave his little spiel. I think it was about 15 to 20 minutes of him speaking, and he actually said in the message, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And DJ, man, you hear that all the time, like from
Yep.
your moms, from your kinfolk, everybody tells you that. Where do you see yourself? And it just goes in one ear and out the other sometimes. But for me, I think at that point, dealing with what I was going through at the time, and just trying to figure out, what was the best possible scenario for me. When he said that, I was just like, I went in kind of like just tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Like what do I really see myself doing? I know I'm not as business savvy as some other people may be. I know I'm not in the entrepreneurial ship field. I know I'm not, in the medical field, or in that type of capacity. And I started putting together that I love serving people and I love helping people out.
Mm.
And I think that just with my upbringing and to where I was at that point in time, I just tried to correlate the two together, and it was just kind of like a refresher for me. That foundation for me, it was just like, if not me, then who? And I
Yeah.
think that it starts, with with us uplifting our own, you know what I'm saying, and trying, and not just black youth, but everybody, no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, just trying to be the best version of yourself so other people can see it and be like, wow, like I can actually be something, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in the medical field, whether you're in public speaking, or you're giving some sort of professional outlook on life. Be the best at it, and
Mm-hmm.
try to, you know emphasize and just put on that platform that that person just bring out the best in themselves, because when they see you, they see a vision, they
They
see the
do.
manifestation of their dreams, you know what I'm saying, and I think that that's important growing up.
See, I think that answer is really amazing because it's being part of the solution. Like one quote that I saw on YouTube, a dude said, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Be part of the solution." And so
Mm,
basically, I feel like your field is definitely being part of the solution of helping people, serving
yeah,
people that need to be served. Like you said, what it doesn't even matter about the color. Just
yeah,
you need to help people that need to be helped. I know right now you're doing patrol right on the streets,
yeah, yeah. I'm
and so
patrol man. Yeah,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was about to say now. Yeah, right now I'm on patrol. Like I told you earlier, my work hours are from 5 in the evening to 3 in the morning. Four
Mm,
4 days on, 3 days off. So we're in that high capacity time zone where stuff pops off. Every
yeah,
single hour, something's going on. Whether you have to assist somebody with a family violence issue, or a simple disturbance, or walking a lady across the street, to any type of high priority call, whether it's an accident major or shooting or cutting, anything like that, we have to respond to it.
hmm
And so, yeah, just like you stated, man, it's all about your approach and how you kind of assess that situation.
yeah. And so with doing patrol, do you plan on being on the streets for the rest of your career, or where do you plan on venturing off within the department?
Yeah, man. Um, you know, with departments, and as you know, man, departments are so big and broad where you can do a lot
Yes.
of stuff.
Hmm.
With me, personally, I like the position that I'm in, but I'm not stagnant myself. I take that community approach. Of course, I want to, go ahead and level up, as become more studious as the years progress on, and so on and so forth. Going up to that detective level, or going, to sergeant. That's where I envision myself eventually
Yeah.
going. However, God, has another opportunity or another avenue for me to go, whether it's the federal level, or whether it's just venturing off into, nonprofit organizations, trying to bridge that gap between community leaders,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
police itself. I think that's really that commonality ground, because that really helps out not only community relations, it helps out the understanding of both sides. And then
Yeah.
and right now, it's just, I feel as if that it's not a it's not a one-edged sword.
Hmm.
You can't fight fire with fire. You can't sit here and point the finger and point the blame, and you have to, find that commonality, because we all live in this world together, man.
We
You
do.
know, and it's sad to see, some of the stuff take place, and it's sad to see, where people's minds are,
Hmm.
and it's, you find out true colors, you find out, uh you know how people may feel about something, or what they may say that triggers your thought and your upbringing, and you try to educate them, and sometimes, that education may come off as being abrasive towards them.
Yeah.
It might
Definitely.
come off as, you know you weren't taught what I was taught. I'm not going to have an open ear to what you're saying, so I'm not going to listen to you.
Hmm.
Rather than just saying, "Hey, you know, I hear what you're saying. Okay, let's find a common solution."
Yeah.
Instead of already coming up to the assumption of, I don't, I, I'm listening to you, I hear you, but I'm just still going to believe what I want to believe. You're not growing with
Exactly.
it. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
yeah,
And I think that's very important for law enforcement and the community is understanding people's path and their journey because not
hmm,
everybody is the same, right? But at the end of the
absolutely.
day, we're all humans and we're all one, right? And in order to get to that level of us being together, we need to understand, understand where people come from, understand how people are raised, understand the trials and tribulations that people go through. And
Yeah.
I think in today's world, we don't really do that, right? We just look at something as it is in front of us instead of trying to
Mhm.
understand what people have been through. And so I
Yeah.
definitely think that this path in law enforcement would definitely it's definitely helping in your position. It's definitely helping to get both sides of the story, which I think is so huge. And I know you said
Yeah.
that, you know, not everybody, black, white, Mexican, it doesn't matter. But I think black law enforcement, I think there needs to be more of us because
Yeah.
we only listen to each other sometimes, man,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we can relate, and I think that's huge.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail right on the head, man. Um, when I go into and I work the east side on San Antonio, man.
Mm-hmm.
So the east side is predominantly African American. So when I go to calls and when I speak to people and when I'm talking to people, it's not only benefiting me, but it's also benefiting them in a sense of where when I go on the scene, I'm not taking that aggression and tone as a
Yeah.
form of hostility towards me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand and I kind of get the frustration. However, my ability to speak and kind of de-escalate that situation before it can grow to a magnitude of any type of hand-to-hand combat or any type of I got to go hands-on with this guy or going any type of secondary weapon of any sort. Just simply
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation and looking at
Yeah.
that person as if they were my cousin, they were my mom, they were my dad, they were a sister, a brother to me, one of my homeboys outside of the uniform. So I think that helping me that helps me out a lot uh, to interact
Yeah.
and be more personal. I told somebody in the past, the more personal you can get with the people that you serve, especially within the black community, the more trust that you'll gain. It's
Yeah.
not about the high priority calls when you go there, how you react towards them and how they react towards you. It's those days where you don't have nothing going on and you drive by the neighborhood and you see a kid outside playing basketball. And you step
Yeah.
outside of the car and you shoot basketball with them. Or you see some kids playing, throw up tackle and you get the football and you start throwing the ball and you start making games with them. They'll remember that.
Yep.
They'll remember that picture. They'll remember your face. And so the next time that they have that encounter with the law enforcement officer, within their neighborhood, they're like, "Oh man, I knew Officer Bell, man. He was
It
cool,
was
man. Like
cool.
he treated me,
Uh-huh.
with respect and stuff like that. Like I appreciate that. I'm gonna tell another officer when I see him on my street, play a little game of whatever the case may be, basketball, run track, or football or soccer,
Mm-hmm.
or baseball. But it's the time when it's least expected
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
the appreciation grows even more because it's so easy to show appreciation. It's so easy to show respect when stuff happens.
Yeah.
When I show up on scene and I'm trying to consult the mother of a victim who was just brutally wounded or injured or possibly killed in an auto accident or shooting. But what about those instances where I roll up on a family reunion or a barbecue that's outside on the front porch and I'm talking to a family,
Mm-hmm.
just interacting with them. This just that civil encounter, that
Yeah.
consensual encounter. I think that's important because that takes you outside of that uniform, that badge, and it puts you actually in their shoes, man.
It does. It really does. And I think now today, I know it's it used to be more of a reaction. Like law enforcement used to be more of a reaction. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
just going there, just trying to put your face out there, trying to make a name for the as a law enforcement officer into like a positive light into the community. So but let's talk about patrols, man, and being a police officer. It's a dangerous job, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know, how do you ever think about the what ifs, like what could happen while you're doing patrol? And if you do think about that, how do you cope with that?
Yeah, man. That's a real good and solid question too, D. I would say for me, what I do, man, every day, man, I just give God thanks and give him the praise, man, for just allowing me just to do what I'm doing, just to be here on this earth,
Yeah.
another 24 to make things right and do better than I was the previous day before. But my number one thing is faith, bro. You gotta have that
Mm-hmm.
faith.
Yes, you
And
do.
that's whatever you do. that's even outside of law enforcement. You have to have that faith because there might be a day where I have a horrible day, where I misjudge something, or I don't log in something correctly, or I don't write that report in which it might turn into something. And this is just the hypothetical. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
of
But
course.
you know, if I'm always worrying about something, then I'm not having that faith in it. And I think
Hmm.
that faith really carries you on even on your worst day. And so for me personally, I always have faith in God, man. I always pray, before shift. Just, hey, put a hedge of protection around me, make sure, that I can improve and impact somebody's life in a positive way that can alter anything negatively that they may have going or may be doing.
Hmm.
And also outside of the job, man, I try to spend time with the family. I try to spend
Yeah.
time, with the people that love me, my girl, my spending vacations or taking a trip here and there, and just getting my mind off of the job. And I think that it's important to have that separation. If
Definitely.
you if there's so many people that I know that do this job and they're consumed. They're
Hmm.
consumed. They're working. They're working. They're getting the OT, man. They're doing the off duty gigs. They're always consumed with the job, but they don't have time for their social life.
Yeah.
And I had an old head tell me one time. He was just like he was telling another officer. He was just like, "Hey, man, don't work so hard that when your day is called, the only thing that you remember for is that you were a hard worker.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that people know you for is that you work hard. That's the only attribute that you have. They don't
Hmm.
know if you're cool. They don't know if you're kind. They don't know if you're considerate of anybody else. They don't know if you're trustworthy. Like they don't know any type of social skills that you may have or bring to the table. All they know is that you're a hard worker, man.
Hmm.
And you want to be remembered for something that is not only impactful, but you want to be remembered for like the totality of everything that you've done in your life to be something that's worth bragging about. So
Of course.
I just try to balance it with that faith, and just like I said, taking my time off to do whatever it is, fishing, traveling, or spending time with the family. I think that's important just to decompress, man.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It's definitely healthy too in terms of a mental aspect. Because if you, like you said, if you consume yourself with the job, man, I think that can lead you down such a dark path. You don't know who you truly are as a person, right?
Yeah,
And it's kind of like it kind of relates to football, right? If
yeah,
you consume yourself with just being a football player or basketball player, just an athlete in general, and you don't know your hobbies such as reading or even now today with podcasting, if you don't know your hobbies, man, I think later on in life you will start to feel a sense of darkness, a sense of depression because you don't know what else to do. So I definitely think that's you spending time with your family and not doing too much overtime and doing too much off-duty gigs is healthy for you, man. I definitely applaud that you know that. So when it comes to one of the most dangerous calls in law enforcement, I believe that's domestic violence. So, as an officer, you never know what can happen when dealing with love and passion, because that's some of the strongest feelings ever, man. The unthinkable can really happen when you deal with those two factors right there. But how do you keep your composure when dealing with that issue?
yeah. And to answer your question, to add on, love and passion. Also, when people do consume alcoholic beverages in the midst of love and passion,
Mm-hmm.
because they act off of not only passion, not only off of love, but they act off of not their own sound judgment.
Yes.
But for
Yes.
me, man, and for any other officer, man, when you do go into these heightened disturbances, domestic violence type calls, uh, you really have to gain a true sense of appreciation for the victim, and you have to recognize the victim and the suspect. And even if you
Yeah.
cannot recognize the victim and the suspect, simply talking. I think that this job builds your interpersonal skills, man. It allows you and gives you the ability to think, to ask questions at the flip of a dime. And when you see people who have been routinely involved in family violence, domestic violence type of issues, uh, their tone of voice is a little bit off.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuttering. Their eyes are kind of impulsated with redness. You can see the strain in their eyes. You're looking for bruises. You're You're looking at their hand movements. You're looking at their feet. You're looking at the the building or the room around you to see if anything was thrown around. But also keep in mind, DJ, and you know this, and a lot of people who are studious and what's going on and what know this. Uh, a lot of women who are in domestic violence incidents, they they feel as if they have to hold something back
Yes, definitely.
because of love,
Mm-hmm.
because of that passion.
Yep.
So they can be getting pounded, they can be getting their butt beat, you know, but they're not gonna say anything because they love their husband, they love their
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend,
They want to
and
protect
they
them.
know, yeah, yeah, and they know as soon as their boyfriend finds out that either she's telling the truth, or in some cases, if she talks to the police at all, as soon as he bonds out, he's coming right back, and then the
Mm-hmm.
same continuing cycle of violence is gonna happen again. you
Yes.
know and I think it's hard for women, not to say that men aren't any type of victims towards domestic violence, because there are,
Mm-hmm.
um but I just we the common uh, form of domestic violence is towards women, not to say men aren't involved in it at all,
You're the
but
majority.
yeah, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so, just dealing with women and stuff, they're very afraid to say something. They're
Yeah.
very afraid to open up. And it's just, it hurts sometimes. But like I said, it's all about how you talk to people, separating both parties, making sure that, when the female is giving her statement, or on the other side, the flip side, if the male is giving him statements, you don't have them looking at each other. You don't have them talking to one another. You have them in separate rooms. You have one outside, you have one inside, just making sure that everybody's safe and sound. No weapons are involved, no weapons are in the area.
Yeah.
It's kind of, how can we settle this down and then make a sound judgment based off of, what's going on. And then you have um, those other instances where people just do stuff out of passion.
Yeah.
You'll get to the scene and they're like, hey, what happened? What's going on? I did this. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or no,
Yeah.
I did that to that female. That was me. That was me. Go ahead, hook me up. Go ahead, hit me up. And that's that out of passion. Like, they don't, or that individual doesn't care about any outcome.
Yeah.
It's just about getting back. You know, and that's so detrimental, man. Because kids, when kids are at the household, man, and kids are
They're watching.
crying for mama, and they're watching daddy beating on mama, and they watching mama, come home late at night doing whatever she's doing. They they think that not only is it okay, but they think like that's the only way that they'll make it out, is if they have to follow that
Yeah.
same path.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
my dad sold this, or my mom did this, and I saw mama do. She can't tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, pops can't tell me really what to do, because he didn't do nothing. And
Yep.
there's that combativeness issue. And then when that kid gets to 12, 13, 14, 15 years of age, he thinks, or she thinks, that she can make sound judgments on their own.
Yeah.
And the parent is like, I can't deal with it anymore. And that's what we deal with in society nowadays,
Yep. It
you
is.
know? So,
It,
yeah.
it, it becomes it becomes the kid's reality.
Yeah.
Like you said, like it becomes their norm when they grow up watching their mom get beat, or grow up their dad selling drugs. Like you said, that's their only way out, and that's normal to them, and
Yeah.
it's hard to break. I want to get into how important is it, because I know it's very important to kind of comfort the victim, but how important is it to also not comfort, but really talk with the suspect in
Hmm.
a domestic violence case?
Yeah, man. Speaking with the suspect can sometimes feel as if it's one ear and out the other.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with people who simply have, number one, who don't want to talk to police,
Yeah.
don't care, and just simply are like, hey, I can care less what you got to say. I plead the fifth, or I'm not saying anything. It, and then you have those other instances where you're speaking to the suspect, and it's like they're in a daze.
Mm.
And when you simply talk to them about what's all happening and what's going on, and the implications that it's going to have for their family to come, then they start to get in that remorse mode of, like, I'm sorry, but I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
want to say sorry, but like I wish I could take this all back, or
They
let me
realized it.
see my wife for one more time. Let me see my girl one more time. Let me give her a kiss. Let me do this. When and I tell them all the time, when police are called, that discretion is over for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can get there and you can say nothing happened. You can say this, this was just all a mistake, but your discretion is gone when that 911 call is called to us, to
Yeah.
our dispatchers, and they dispatch it on to us. So speaking with the suspects, man, it I always, me personally, I always try to give them that sense of realism. And if I can't speak to them towards their own life, I always tell them who's watching.
Yeah.
And if they do have kids, I was like, look at your kids, man. They're looking at you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put them in the house because I want them to look at you right now. Because some people have to feel embarrassed in order to change.
Yes.
You
Definitely.
know, they don't, it's not necessarily about them doing wrong. It's the principle of them doing wrong and being embarrassed while they're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, all right, I'm never going to do this again. I can get my kids taken away from me. Oh, I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah.
My wife is going to jail for 3, 4, 5+ years. I'm never going to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to jail for a long time. I'm done. So I think it's the reality setting in instead of just, placing the handcuffs on them. Always try to leave them with a message, like if they're being cooperative, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then you do have those subjects that, are kind of all, take you for a loop. But for the ones that being cooperative, I always try to give them that message that they can be better. Even in spite of what they got going on right now, they can be better. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because that kind of puts things into perspective for them. That they're just a regular person, just like you are. I'm not here to treat you like an animal. I'm not here to
Exactly.
throw you in the back and slam the door in your face, not give you any AC in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to just treat you like a regular person. You done wrong. You're gonna own up to your wrongdoing. I mean, you're gonna see a judge. They're gonna set whatever stipulation or statute of limitations that they follow towards your life,
Mm-hmm.
and move on from it. That's something
Exactly.
that you have to learn from, man. So yeah.
And so when you respond to that domestic violence call, are you, as an officer, are you on your toes because you never know what could happen? Like, describe to me how you are when you respond to that call.
Yeah, man. So we have like kind of levels to domestic violence, family violence type of calls. Whether there's a firearm involved, whether the person is under the influence, whether it be any type of narcotic substances or alcohol. If children are involved, if it's an active disturbance, meaning that the person is actually physically
Doing it.
still beating them up while the person is on the
Mm-hmm.
phone. It's always leveled. For me personally, man, and people have to understand that when we go to these calls and we get clearance to go lights and sirens, our computer is continually updating. So we're driving and it can say subject is on the ground, she's still getting beaten. The suspect is going to the room to pull out a knife, or the suspect is running away from the location. It's almost like football, man. When you go into a game and they let you walk the field, you got your headphones on and you're visualizing what you're gonna do. You know, you're visualizing, what the moves that you're gonna make, the catches that you're gonna make,
Mm-hmm.
the blocks that you're gonna get. It's kind of similar towards the job that we do in law enforcement, man. Like, okay, if he runs out, what am I gonna do right here? Am I gonna call Eagle up? Am I gonna go ahead and I got one running over the radio and take off?
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna consult that victim? Am I gonna make sure no suspects are inside of the house? That's what I'm thinking, man. I'm thinking about all of the um, things that are outside of the intangibles of what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, to answer your question, bro, I am on my toes. And um, your heart rate is a little elevated. Because you don't know what's going on, man.
Exactly.
I'm going off the notes on my key card. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's false. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's something drastically has happened and it's just coming out as a minor thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me, man. I'm always thinking about what else can I do? How can I do this, or what if I'm playing the what if game?
Yeah.
Always expect the unexpected in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I always try to prepare myself for. I don't ever take any call lightly. I don't ever take, going any type of situation like an easy call. You know, that 911 hang up could be somebody simply having, a heart attack, undergoing cardiac arrest, and
Mm-hmm.
then you roll up and you're like, oh shoot, like I should have taken this more seriously than before.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but yeah, man. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah.
And so as you're doing patrol, right? Has that the unexpected, the what ifs, has that made you doubt your career field?
No, man. To be honest with you, as I stated in the beginning, and this is for anybody going into law enforcement or anybody trying to pursue a career um, in the criminal justice field, you got to have that same mindset as far as your purpose. Um, when you first start, that purpose has to be solidified
Yeah.
to the point to where when you go into stuff and further along you get in that job, that purpose is still at the forefront. Because if you do this job with no purpose, then you don't have anything at all, man.
Yeah.
You have to have purpose behind what you do. You have to have that same goal. If my goal is to join the department and make a change for my community and help out people who are misguided, misunderstood, um, and don't have a voice, or simply need that outlook on life itself through somebody that looks like them in a uniform,
Mm-hmm.
then that has to be my forefront goal, moving up, moving up, moving up. Because if I lose that, if I lose who I am, if I lose my identity, then it's like I'm doing it for me, and I don't do this for me. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a law enforcement officer for myself. I
Mm-hmm.
don't do this for the paycheck. DJ. And like all the stuff that we do. Like it's tough.
Yeah.
But I don't do this for the paycheck. I do this for the people you know, who are sick and shut in, the ones who, simply don't have any outlook on law enforcement, but they come to me. Hey KB, what happens if this, or hey KB, I'm hemmed up on this, or hey, I need your advice on a certain situation. For some people, I'm their only outlook on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only law enforcement officer in my family of any type of capacity.
Yep.
So it's it's an avenue of a resource for other people, but then also too, man, it's just like you just always have to have that purpose up front that
Yeah.
continually keeps you going. So when you have that bad day, you're like, all right, I still got my purpose, man. I know it's tough right now. I know it's strenuous right now. I know an event just happened right now, but I'm still gonna keep my faith, and I'm still gonna be like, man, I'm doing this for a reason, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's for other people to see. So
Mm-hmm. It's a bigger picture.
yeah, big thing.
It's a it's a much bigger picture. So let's get into something that has been going on. Actually, it's been going on for a while, but it's kind of really gone on to the forefront over these past couple of years, and that's defund the police, right? And
Yeah.
so I want to get your opinion on defund the police, but do you really think that defunding the police will solve the issues that's happening within our community?
Personally, man, I don't, man. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. If you speak to a lot of, and in which I do, you speak to a lot of community leaders, people um, who got rep in the hood, or any type of urban area or underdeveloped socioeconomic area that have served time. They'll tell you the benefits and the negative effects of not having police.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do feel as if police should be um, more inclined to the community in which they're serving,
Serving. Mm-hmm.
meaning they should have a better understanding. If I'm in South Central LA, I need to know how it operates. Not be a cat from
Yes.
Hollywood, not be a cat from Chino Hills or something like that coming
Yes.
down thinking I can tell these
Absolutely.
boys what to do. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the relationships are built off of commonalities, and the whole mantra of defund the police and all this other stuff. You talk to them, man, they're gonna tell you, like, we need police, especially in our community, bro, especially in our
Mm-hmm.
community.
Yeah.
It'll cripple us down, man. And I feel as if I hear some say all the time, whether it be on social media and stuff like that. When I read police posts or whatever, who do you guys call when something goes on? You call police, you call 911. Well, that yes, but in the same sense though, my thing is we need if we don't have police, total chaos is gonna go out, man.
Yep.
And I think that stuff will be happening at random, stuff will be happening at will, and then you have gang rivals, ganging up on each other, and you can't solve anything with
You
chaos
can't.
going on. So I think that if people could just see that there are actually officers who are trying to make a difference, who are trying to step out and and be that officer that everybody wants to see. Yeah, we need more black officers. If you defund, it's like you're hurting everybody. You're
Yeah.
hurting the good ones. You're hurting the bad ones. And I bust my butt just like every other officer out here. And I may have that same purpose, and there might be another person out there that's just like, hey, I don't care if you're black officer, I don't care if you're white officer. I just want to take money away from you. And it's just like, I'm
Yeah.
DJ. There's some stuff that I've done, and I don't try to brag on it, but there's some stuff that I've done in these previous years for kids in the neighborhood, or setting up back to school drives, and doing stuff out of my own pocket just for the benefit of the people in the community. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more personal when you actually care and you give.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Yes, it
in the I'm
is.
not in the business to receive, man. So there's kids that have come up to me, there's moms that have called me or have called my substation and say, hey, can I speak to Officer Bill? He's saved my child.
Yeah.
He's done this for me. Or having parents that literally send you updates on their child because you gave them a sticker, or you talk to them, or you let them play with your lights, and you see them during Christmas time, and we have a Blue Santa program down here in San Antonio, and you
Mm-hmm.
give them gifts. They remember that stuff, man. And so it's just all of that going into, if you want to put into a crystal ball, man, it's just like, that's, to me personally, I don't think that that's the correct way to go. However, I do feel as if, like I stated earlier, having officers who understand the community,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
who know the community, that's important. That's what we need to attack. If an officer, and people can say, well, he'll learn the area, he'll learn this, he'll learn it. If For somebody who's lived in an area for 26 years, an officer who's just moved over to that district trying to serve and protect that community is not going to learn in 1 year.
Oh.
It's not going to learn in his whole career. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell a 26-year-old man, a 27, 30, if he's an OG status up in the 50s, how to act in his own community if you've only served there a year, and you don't know what they have to go through, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
respect what they have to go through, man. And I think that that's
Yes.
important, man. You got to respect boundaries. You have to.
You do.
And I'm not saying you got to go along with what they got going on or something, but you have to realize that other people got it a little bit differently than you,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to say, okay, I got you, man. Like, I'm respecting you. It's all mutual respect. What you got going on, man? Like, it's all about how you can talk, and you can be. You don't even have to be from the community sometimes to really understand, but it's just having that open ear
Yes.
to
There we go.
community problems, community intervention. And I think that if officers can go in and do more community intervention, then that would be, instead of being forced to.
That
And
would solve a lot of issues, man. That would
yeah,
solve a lot of issues.
yeah. So, but yeah, man.
So, like you said, like the police and community relationship is so huge.
Hmm.
What are some other ways that we can attack the issues that's happening within our community, such as gang violence, poverty, lack of educational funding, homelessness? What are some other ways that we can attack that without having to take from the police?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that it has a lot to do, and excuse me for scratching my eye, it has a lot
No,
to
you're good.
do with getting with, your community leaders along with city council members, man, because city council, they have that district council has a direct insight to the mayor, it has a direct insight to city board members. And I believe that if you can improve, whether it be infrastructure, you know,
Yeah.
if you see a project that's been there since the 50s and you see people complaining about the streets, you see people complaining about the lack of adequate water, adequate, supermarkets,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can push that narrative forward and say, hey, what can we do for this group right here? And I'm talking about socioeconomic status levels. What can we do for this group right here that can improve their livelihood? What if we build, low cost living, or it doesn't even have to be low cost living, but I'm just saying in general. But what
Mm-hmm.
if we can build another suitable way of life here, and they can move here, because sometimes people are born into situations that it's hard to get out of,
Hard.
and that's what people
Exactly.
have to get to the realization of, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and so if like I said, going with city council and whatnot, but also too, man, um, when we talk about nutrition and we talk about uh staying in shape, and you talk about the lack of a Whole Foods, the lack of healthy
Yes, sir.
um, ways of life or gyms, man.
Mm-hmm.
You go to any type of underdeveloped or urban community, look at the amount of gyms in the area, man. Like look at the amount of healthy
Mm-hmm.
food habits. I'm not talking about Burger King, Churches, Popeyes,
Yeah.
stuff that we
Mm-hmm.
cater to, man, and we could just drive up. We're used to it because that's all we know,
That's all we
and
know.
so
Mm-hmm.
when you develop, not only when poor infrastructure is developed with poor eating habits, and when you look at, like I said, the school systems, which are already covered, all of it kind of flows in order. And I broke this down to some people too. And when we talk about, um, kids growing up and resorting to gang and gun violence or anything like that, I'm just gonna pose something to you, DJ. You
Mm-hmm.
go to any urban community per capita, man. How many pawn shops you gonna find, bro? You gonna find at
Yeah.
least, I'm thinking like 8 to 9, maybe
Yep.
10 in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, out of them same areas, man, how many places can you go get a holster for that weapon?
Yeah.
You know, it's
True.
maybe what, only two to
Not many.
three, maybe
Not
four.
many at all.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And now you break that down. Where can you actually go get trained to use that weapon? You know,
Ooh.
so
Yeah.
it's like me personally, the way I think of it as a lot of our youth in the black community. I can speak for the black community because we're here. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
us that do not have the necessities of life, as I stated earlier: poor infrastructure, poor eating habits, don't have access to physical recreation activities. They'll resort to you know buying a gun, which is easily accessible. However, they have no studious capacity on how to use that gun
How
or
to
how
use it.
to have it on their hip at all times in a holster. They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to have that easable access to a weapon rather than easable access to health and fitness, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
education, because it's not that isn't glamorous because it isn't pushed. So if
Yes,
it
not.
isn't pushed, they're going
Mm-hmm.
to resort to something that their friends are doing, man.
Yep. That's absolutely right, man. And one thing in our community, right? There's so many avenues where you can take a wrong turn, and like you said, it's not enough gyms, it's not enough Whole Foods, it's not enough Trader Joe's,
Yeah,
but it's a whole lot of McDonald's, Popeyes,
yeah,
churches, liquor
yeah,
stores, and so
yeah.
I think
Liquor,
in order for us to break that cycle, because we're a product of our own environment, and so
absolutely.
in order for us to get away from that environment, we need the help from government officials, mayors, to actually fix our community. So
Hmm.
I think that point is so huge to make,
Yeah,
for everybody that's watching and listening, man. We definitely need help in improving our environment.
yeah.
And so,
And to add on to what you were saying, man, I want to clarify for some people because I had a couple friends outside of the job really not understanding. This isn't to say I want you to feel sorry for me,
mm-hmm,
so I want you to give me something. No,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm proposing. That's not what I'm proposing at all. What I'm saying is that some people are born into situations. Some people are born into environments
Mm-hmm.
where the access to the same type of resources that you may have in another area just isn't there.
Yeah.
So what they've grown up thinking is right is wrong in your eyes because you've been taught the correct way. So some people don't know the correct way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not a, it's not to say, hey, you know, um, they, oh man, I feel bad for you and whatnot. No, it's not to say that. What we're trying to do is improve our own communities. How can we
Yes.
get better? How can we teach each other? How can we correct people to say, hey, whether it be a kid, whether it be an adult, saying you can be better than what you're around right now. You can do better. You can see better. You can envision. I see you as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a spokesperson,
Mm-hmm.
as somebody that's in a in a good space, a good headspace to make something
Yeah.
happen, man.
And so, what I want to get into, right? Do you believe in this country we can find a way to pour in that money to give us access to Whole Foods, more gyms within our community? Do you think we can actually get the funding to actually do those things? Because right now we find other ways to pour in money to other countries or other avenues in this country that doesn't even truly matter, right? And I think these politicians, man, they do a hell of a job of saying something but
Mm,
never, basically keeping their word. So do you
right.
think we can actually find that funding to basically improve the life of the
Yeah.
minority community?
Yeah. Man, that's a real good point. Um, you know, me personally, man, I think it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill process. Um, you may have, and I say you as far as the country,
Mm-hmm.
um, our country may have the resources to help out a few communities. However, the totality of all the communities involved, man, there's always gonna be people who need assistance, people who need help, people who simply don't have what other people have, the have versus the have-nots. Um, when you look at the history of this country, and when you look at the the stuff that minorities had to endure um, throughout the United States, and you look at the United States now, um, a lot has changed, yes, but also too, you see the the poor and the rich just spreading out even more than what they are, and that middle class just staying right there in the middle.
Staying,
You
yep.
know,
Staying
so
stagnant.
it's literally like you got the middle class stagnant, you got the poor get poor, you got the rich getting richer, and so I think that as a country, man, I think that it'll be tough, but it's an everyday process. It's an uphill battle. We can sit here and say, yeah, we'll give 300 million to urban communities, but also too, DJ, keep in mind who are you really giving it to. I mean, you
Yeah.
can you can give, let's say if you give 20 million to LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to go towards, then you got to split it up. Is it going to go towards, District 6, District 7, District 8, or whatever districts are aligned there? And then you got to break it down. Which neighborhood is it going to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got people fighting over money, you know? And when you got people fighting over money and you got the US giving money, that just adds to the inflation that's already going
Mm.
on right now, man.
Yes, indeed.
And it's just like, I want to say yes for the whole United States. For every city, every municipality in the country. Yeah, we can do it, but it's an uphill battle. Is it being done right now? Yes. Is it been done enough? No,
Mm-mm.
it hasn't. You know, and so I just think that it's just an uphill battle. I don't think that we'll fully get to the point to where we're like, hey, everybody's taken care of, we're good. Let's keep it going. Because of the history, man. You have
Yeah.
to understand our country's history in order to fully understand, how can we improve,
Yes,
society
indeed.
today. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And so I want to end it off with this question right here. I know we kind of harped on it earlier, but in order for the police and the community be in lockstep with each other, what are some ways that we can make that happen?
Yeah. Um, I think one of the main ways, and I always bring it up because I'm kind of loving the idea of it, but introducing um, law enforcement, uh, community relations classes within the classroom in school.
Mm,
Outside of social media, man, school is the
yeah,
most impactful place for a child to be. They
yeah,
learn from their teachers, they learn from their friends, they learn from everybody that's up there because heck, they're up there from K through 12th grade. So I think that if we can get into the school systems, which you have units that are in the school systems, may
school
one school
police
may have an officer, yeah, school police
mm,
officer, but I'm talking about actually getting into it,
in the
actually setting
classroom.
up, yeah, actually setting up a classroom, a class
Mm-hmm.
that shows and tells you, gives people, it puts them in their shoes, whether they're putting on some drunk goggles and trying to figure out stuff that's going on, or putting them in situations where they have to critically think, use their mind, putting them in situations where they have to save somebody, or they have to make a decision at the split of a dime, whether it's good, whether it's bad, or whether they just have to go off their own sound judgment. And then having people explain what they've just done.
Yeah,
Because see, right now, I think that what it is you and you have it on both sides. It's the understanding, man. And so I think to answer your question outright, bro, because I know you in on time. To answer your question outright, I think the school system is very important. Getting more acclimated in the school systems and giving the students real life world settings, not just showing
mm-hmm.
videos, not just
Yes,
showing PowerPoints, not just there to talk and to do, but what to say on a traffic stop, how to act on a traffic stop, how
yeah,
to breathe, and a lot of people act. You just said it earlier off of passion. A lot of people say stuff off of emotion. So that
mm-hmm.
passion, that emotion, that aggression is coming out instead of taking a deep breath and saying, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
okay," and just talking, because that breath can kind of like clear your mind from cussing at an officer, or saying something crazy, or just doing something stupid, where you can just be like, because I tell them all the time, I just want I want you to go home. It's not if you right or wrong. I want you to go home, man. It's
Absolutely.
important for you guys, man. So the school system's number one. I think also too, more more emphasis on um, kids, whether it be a march, whether it's Martin Luther King march, whether it's any type of community initiative where the community is up front. So
Mm-hmm.
the police are there, of course, but they're more involved. You know,
Yeah,
walking alongside people, not kids, walking alongside people
yeah,
and saying, "I'm human, just like you." You
mm-hmm.
know, I understand what you're going through. We in this together. It's not a side. It's not a police side and a negative community side. It's not a community
Yep,
side, and I'm against police. This is how can we do this together? Because when
mm-hmm.
I take this gun off my hip, and I take the badge and I set it down. I'm a regular person. You
Yep, I'm
know,
just like you.
you're
Mm-hmm.
just like you. And so I think that law enforcement officers get involved, whether it be Martin Luther King marches or anything where their their expectancy isn't voluntarily, like, you're pushing for them to be with you.
Yeah,
Because yeah, you see officers at MLK marches, but what are they doing? They're just, a lot of
they're
them
just
are
there,
just sitting there just to make sure nothing pops off, nothing,
not
no
interacting.
fights occur. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but actually walking, talking with people, eating some
Mm-hmm.
barbecue, dancing with the people.
Yes.
Like, it's the unexpectancy. It's the stuff that makes you be like, I ain't never seen that before. That
Mm-hmm.
kind of gets you to
Open up.
appreciate. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, man. So yeah, so community intervention, schools, and I think that that in itself kind of covers everything, man.
I,
In my mind, that I can possibly think of right now.
I love the school aspect, right? Because like you said, we have school police, but they're there to react to what could happen and not actually teaching kids how to interact with police. And so I love that school aspect. But do you think in today's society with social media and with everything happening with law enforcement in the community, such as uh, a wrong shooting or something like that. Do you think
Mhm.
that school classroom stuff would be accepting within our community?
Um, it's a yes and it's a no, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to keep in mind though, DJ, this is in any job that you do. You're gonna have
Yeah.
people that hate you. You're gonna have people that dislike you. You're gonna have people that don't even agree with what you got going on, but you still got to press forward, man. And especially when it comes to kids, me personally, I haven't received like a lot of negative drawback, towards kids because I don't go in there with the I'm Officer Bell, mindset. I
Mm-hmm.
tell them all the time, hey man, y'all can call me Bill, y'all can call me KB. I got Bill on my
Mm-hmm.
shirt, or y'all can just call me, hey officer. Like it doesn't matter to me. Right now I don't go by a title, man.
That's
I'm
good.
here to help educate you guys, help you guys learn. That's the most important thing. I don't want you scared to open up to me because you don't know how to approach me. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you feeling as if you can't speak to me because of what you see on social media, um, and is not happening in our neighborhood. But you
Yeah.
see it on social media and you take it for granted that every officer is doing that. Every officer is out to get me, my family. I don't care. I'm not speaking. But I think that if you can find out which kid has the most trouble and you speak to them on a level of understanding, I promise you. I promise you. I've done it. I promise you, man. It's 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 eye opening, man. It's eye
Mm-hmm.
opening. And they might, you got to understand, some kids might feel abrasive when you up there at the schools and you speaking to the students and you putting them on blast and you embarrassing them. They
Mm-hmm.
might look at it as, man, this officer this officer this. But I guarantee
Yeah.
you when they go home they're gonna be like, hey man, dang. Like they'll start to realize
Mm-hmm.
the sense of appreciation, you know, because anybody can get up there and speak. Anybody can sit up there and give a presentation or make a PowerPoint, but it's the sincerity of checking on the student, making sure that they're okay, that they have what they need, not only in school but in life, man.
Yeah.
So that's how you truly impact somebody.
I think it's so important, right, to not let the actions of a few officers to paint a picture of law enforcement as a whole. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like this, right? Back in the days, or even now today, you got black people committing crimes, right? And then these white people or whatever, they think that, oh, that's black people as a whole community. And so I think it's so huge to get that in people's minds that we
Mm-hmm.
cannot let the actions of some be just paint a whole picture of the whole thing. I think that's
Man.
so important for people to know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And not and stop stereotyping every group to have some sort of crime in itself.
Yes.
Or all white people may do this, or all Hispanic people may do this, or all black people or all Asian. And it's just when you get that, and it happens that that negative counterpart sometimes hits me sometimes when I come up to people and they're like, oh, you speak a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
or they look at you a little bit differently because you're not, you know, the person
What
that they
they thought.
see. Oh yeah, exactly. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, man. And it's like it shouldn't have to come to the point to where I have to appropriate myself to correct your wrong misunderstanding of who we are as people and
Absolutely.
as a culture, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's something on you that you have to correct personally. But yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Exactly,
Hmm.
man. And so that's how we're gonna wrap it off, man. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Views and Voices podcast. I'm your host, Dewan Thompson. Thank you.